Silhouettes of you are like a taunt. Never really know just what you want. With you,
Hi everyone, welcome to a super easy cookie tutorial. We're going to make a bat today, so let's get started.
cats and a string.
So we're going to start off with our stiff consistency. This is my outline, and my icing didn't come out too well there, so I'm just going to scrape it off quickly and restart. So again, I'm going to touch down on the cookie here to secure my icing, and then slowly push up and then touch down again at the point. Every time I have a point, I want to touch the icing down to the cookie so that it stays in place and it makes a nice sharp corner. Now we're going to do the bottom of the face, so I want it nice and rounded, so I'm lifting up my bag, and that way it's getting a nice smooth round line, and then I slowly lower my bag and touch down to the beginning of the icing there, and that way I'm securing it at all. And then again, I have a nice rounded side here of his body, and I'm going to touch down to the point, and that's going to kind of secure it down there, and then back up and touch down to stop my icing. And we're just going to keep doing this. So every time there's a point, I'm touching down on my cookie or getting very close to the cookie. If I don't touch down, you can see it's a rounded edge. If I'm touching down on the cookie, it'll give me a nice sharp point. But every time there's those small curves, like on the wing here, I'm staying really close to my cookie, and that's because I have more control over where my icing goes. If I was lifting up my icing really high, it would be really hard to get it to kind of do what you want to do around those small little curves. You can stop anytime you need to and just pick up with the icing if you're losing your grip or you need to adjust your hands. You don't have to do it all in one shot.
Silhouettes of you are like
And here I'm just filling his head with some outline consistency, the same one I just used. And before it dries, I'm going to go in with my flood. So this is my looser consistency. I added a little bit more water to it, so it's going to settle on its own. And I'm just going to cover that. Now the reason for those lines in the beginning is because sometimes these smaller areas, the top will dry and the bottom underneath the icing is still wet. And then it kind of sinks on itself. So it'll give you a little kind of indent, or it gives you a hole sometimes. We call those craters. Something we don't like to have. Happens every so often, but this is a great way to kind of help prevent that. Okay, and again, for the body here, I'm just going to add some squiggly lines. It doesn't matter which way you go, how you do it. I'm just giving the icing a little bit of support so it doesn't cave in on itself. Now, just so you know that the head had been dried for a little while already, and the reason I did that is because I wanted a separation between the head and the body. So if I didn't let the head dry and I did this step right away, they would kind of melt together. But because I let the head dry for a little bit, there's going to be a little bit of a separation there. Once it dries, you'll see it a little bit better. And you can see there's kind of streaks in my purple icing here, so I'm going in with my scribe to mix it up a little bit. And that usually happens when your icing is sitting a little while or you haven't quite mixed it in very well. It usually happens with the darker colors sometimes. So give it a good mix if you need to. It doesn't really bother me. I just kind of mix it in with my scribe and I move on. You got to pick your battles with cookies sometimes because everything can take you so long. So don't get hung up over the little things, So now I'm just going to continue flooding the wings here. And again, I made sure that the body had time to dry a little bit so that the icing won't melt into the wings because I want a separation there. So if you don't let it dry for a little bit and crust over, the icing kind of just attaches to each other and we don't really want that look. So now I'm going to go in with my black icing and do an outline here. And so I'm staying super close on those ears and head. And sometimes you need to wipe your tip off because the icing's just not coming out right or kind of making a mess there. So just whenever you need to stop, you kind of take a second, wipe the tip of your bag off and continue. And see, I'm going really slow because I'm really trying to get that line where it's supposed to go. And I'm staying nice and close to my cookie. That way it kind of helps me guide my icing better than if I lift it up too high. On longer areas or when I have more space to move, then I can lift my bag up a little bit higher, but really small kind of detailed areas or rounded areas that are tiny, I just want to keep it nice and close. Then I'm going to go ahead and do the wings here. And see, I'm attaching my icing once in a while so that I know that on those curves my icing isn't going to go, off the cookie or have a mind of its own and do what it wants. So this is a kind of way to secure the icing every so often to the cookie so that it's not just going, in the wrong place. It's going where I want it to go. And you learn these little things as you do more cookies. You kind of figure out what the flow is and where you need to stop and touch down and where you need to take a little break and wipe your tip off. That all comes the more cookies you do and the more things you kind of figure out the feel of it. And now I'm going to go in with my yellow outline consistency. This is my thick icing. And I'm just going to do a couple of eyes here. So I'm wiggling my bag to kind of smooth it out as I go. And then I'm just going to smooth it out with my scribe a little bit further just to make it nice and round. And then I'm just going to go in with the same consistency I just outlined with and just put 2 little dots in there for some eyeballs. And if you have a little peak, you can just fix it up with your scribe. And then we're going to do his mouth here, just a little line across, just a straight line. And you see how my icing lift up because when I took my bag away, it kind of went up with the bag. So I'm just going to take my scribe and secure it down again. And we're going to come back to this because I just want to let it dry for a little bit before I add his teeth because I don't want the white icing to pull any of that black icing. So I just want to give it a few minutes. It's a thicker line. It shouldn't take too long to dry. So I'm going to add some details to the wings. And again, I'm just securing my icing and then slowly lifting my bag up a little bit and doing little curves here. And doing the same thing on the other side. So the reason we lift up our bags is to get nice smooth lines. If you try to pipe a straight line directly on the cookie without lifting up your bag, it kind of ends up wonky. So this kind of gives you a nice, even, smooth line. Okay, and now we're going to add his teeth. So this is my outline consistency again because it's thick. Any little details, we always use our thicker outline icing. I'm just putting a little kind of pressure and just pulling it down. And there you go. Cute little bat. Super easy and fun to make. Hope you get a chance to do this. Happy Halloween. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.